there's a tug of war situation among the central banks to high interest rate. What is the bad and the good that will come out from this? And we saw last week of October, the ECB announced another massive 75 basis point hike. And this is the fastest pace in the history of euro currency. And this week, the US Fed is expected to increase another 75 basis point, and this will be the fourth time in a row. And Bank of England would join this massive hike club on Thursday, highly likely. And for today's discussion, we're going to discuss about the interest rate raise just started. Why is that so? And what are the impact on the different currency? And it may not be all bad news. Why? And before we get started, please take some time to read into the disclaimer down here. Now, let's get started on our first point, which is the interest rate has just started. Why is that so? And we could see that these are the among the UK, US, Euro area, Australia interest rate. And US has started to hike its interest rate in March this year. But the latest round, it was the third time on this massive rate hike that we could see that is 75 basis point. Now, let's look at the euro area interest rate, and we could see that its inflation is the highest of all. The latest number, it was at 10.7% compared to US at 8.3, but the interest rate is 2, whereas the US at 3.25. And so far, last week, for the second time, they did their massive rate hike at 75 basis point. And we're expecting that the UK may do the same, maybe at 75 basis point this time round, as their inflation is also at 10.1%. Now let's discuss about the reason why the central banks have this interest rate raise. And it just started. Why is that so? Now we have to understand that with higher interest rate, it attracts investors to buy its currency. So let's look at the US dollars. And we could see that this is the US dollars. And in March this year, that's when they hiked the interest rate. US dollars have appreciated much from then till now, about here. But we have to understand that in currency is always a pair. When US dollars appreciate, looking at the same period, the pound have depreciate. The euros have weakened, and so is the Aussie has weakened as well. Now, and the other thing that we have to understand that when a currency weakens, it is a very bad news for inflation because they will have to pay more for their imports. Now, therefore, in order to counter inflation, and one of the best measure is for them to hike rate. And just look at the inflation numbers that they are having. Highly likely that between the UK and the Euro area, that they're going to hike a massive rate hike just to counter inflation. That we have to see that here. Let's go back to the third point that it may not be all bad news. Let me just explain the reason why. As different central bank going to increase to turn the knob to increase the interest rate hike, another massive rate hike, maybe at 75 basis point, we have to expect more volatility in the currency market, meaning currencies will take its turn to move. Now, if you are a trader, you should welcome volatility because with volatility, there are opportunities. Now, let me just describe to you how it works. And this was in September 26th, a weekly chart here. Let's go very technical on this, that we saw that in one of the forums that we have discussed, that we saw that there was a very nice inverted hammer, and we expect that the US dollars will be weakened in the next few weeks to come. That was that point in time. I believe that as the macro, as the situation develop, I believe that it will continue to move down. Why is it so? Because the rest of the central bank are going to turn up their knot in the interest rate, maybe more massive rate hike, just to counter their weaker currency. For the expects, let's look over to the pound. And we saw that this was a very beautiful hammer. It was a very volatile week for United Kingdom, but we also saw an opportunity when the dust settled about here. And we could see that I believe that the pound, the next few more weeks, I think it's not done yet. We are going to expect to see much more strengthened in the pound. And so is the euro as well. We could see that there was a very classic hammer, and I'm expecting that the euros will continue to move up from here. I do not think it's done yet, because the fundamental reason is because that their central bank are going to be more aggressive with their rate hike. And earlier explained that with an increase in rate hike, it's just going to bring attractiveness to your currency. And so is the Aussie dollar that we could see here. There was a very classic uh, bullish engulfing body we could see. Yes, I know it's technical, but if you um, mirror it with the fundamental development, it kind of matches pretty well, and that's what I'm expecting in the currency market to come. Now let's look at the pound. And if you were to trade pound, how are you going to get started? And personally, I like to trade the currency futures compared to the spot. One of the key reason is because I could study into its volume. Say, for example, this pound futures, and the contract spec states that at every 0.0001 points is equal to $6.25 US dollars. You saw my conversion, so I take the liberty to convert to 0.001, how much it's worth. So basically it's times 10, 0.01 and 0.1. So basically every 0.1 movement in the pound futures, the movement is 6,250 US dollars, meaning that we saw that there was this hammer, a very classic hammer, in the context where you purchase at 1.1 here. And if you take profit at 1.2, because I'm expecting that the pound will continue to move up in the short term. Yeah, there's this interest rate hike coming up. And from 1.1 to 1.2, that's about 0.1 point. And the profit that I'm expecting is at 6,250 US dollars. So similarly, if you make a wrong call, you short the market at 0.1 point against you, your loss could be at 6,250 US dollars. Continue to explore this topic with these related videos and register for these webinars as well. Follow my Facebook page for my daily market insights. To be updated with my latest video, subscribe to my channel, and remember to turn on the notification bell. See you again very, very, very soon.